Welcome back, crew. Thank you for joining us for our first YouTube stream for our game of the month, Symbaroum. This is my first time streaming off YouTube, expect a bit of technical difficulties. If you follow me on Twitch, you know that the channel can sometimes be a little prone to technical difficulties, but we're live on YouTube for the first time ever, and especially fun. We're gonna need to run it with a cool game by one of my favorite publishers, Free League Gaming with the Symbaroum RPG. And my camera angle is a little different than usual, but shout outs to the book. Free League always puts a really solid material together, and we're going to be running through a little makeshift adventure with this. As always, with our games of the month, we you do a free giveaway with the PDF of the system, so this will be no different. If you want to enter to win, type Shadow into the chat. My Nightbot will grab you. We've already got who's in there. Shout out to Green Bean. We've got Green Bean captured in there, and basically what we're going to do at the end of the night. Excuse me, we're gonna do a giveaway, and the winner will get a free copy of the RPG emailed out to them. I think through Drive Through RPG, so you get to run this game with your crew. Because the whole why behind this channel is I wanted to play a lot of new RPGs, and I feel like sometimes one of the major RPGs, like a pawn any names, can suck up a lot of the space in the kind of the hobby. So I wanted to shine a spotlight on some other RPGs like Symbaroum, the a lot of the other ones we played as well as give people the tools to be able to bring these games back to their table and play with their players. So that's kind of what we're going to do today. So thank you guys for joining us for this first YouTube stream. Make sure to throw Shadow into the chat for your chance to win. And we're going to kind of dive into it now. So typically, I run these games of the month with a table full of players. The biggest big bad enemy of any tabletop RPG is scheduling. So a lot of my crew wasn't able to make it this time, so I'm gonna be running this solo. So I want to give a shout out to One Parts in a Million. Look them up on drive-through-rpg again .com. I think they also go by Pete too, as Pete's the guy that makes it. But yeah, so you can look them up there. They've got a solo rule setting for the Symbaroum RPG. That's what I'm going to be running today, using some solo play techniques and hopefully getting to show off the system a bit. Before we actually dive into the system, I think it's really kind of a good one that's it's set up for good solo play opportunities just in the way they handle the dice rolls. It's a D20 system, but rather than where like 5e or Pathfinder, where a lot of it is set by the DCs are set by a game master, these ones are typically set by your attributes or modified by your enemies. The nice thing with this is there's a game master doesn't roll dice traditionally, so this can all be done with all my own. So I can just roll Vicinero, check out our video where we built him up, and just use his stats without having to worry about coming up with DCs arbitrarily for myself. So makes it easy on that side. Oh yeah, hey Shalom. Shout out, it's been a little while. I'm glad you could make it, and shout outs to the chat too. Definitely throw Shadow in there. See if you get a chance to win a copy of this one too. Yeah, so we're gonna kind of dive into it. So Symbaroum, it's a pretty interesting world, but let's kind of set the stage a little bit for how Vicinero is gonna get into the chaotic situation he is in. But background of Vicinero, he is a Ambrian, kind of Ambrian captain, part of the Queen's select armed forces. He initially had assembled a kind of set of knights at the Queen's behest to make their way into the Drakvar, and I probably butchered that forest. And within the forest, there was a ruins that the Queen's spies have uncovered, and they want him to go with his team and see if they could scout out these ruins and bring back any riches they can in service of the crown of Umbria. So Sinro, and a little description of him. He's got some pretty nice looking light armor. You see it's kind of very well maintained leathers with bits of metal that have been shined to polish. Just really kind of gleaming. You see, take great care in his appearance. He's kind of a dark, well built, short buzz cut hair. He's got a little scar across his cheek to give him a little bit of a roguish air. But you see, he keeps a pretty polished image as he frequently interacts with the Queen's court. With him, he had a kind of group of shining knights as they made their way into the Drakvar forest. And Vicinero, if you guys were watching were able to watch the character build episode, you'd know that he is a bit arrogant. He's definitely pretty cunning and able with a quick tongue, but definitely has a trace of arrogance to him, and that definitely did not serve him well as they went into the Davakar forest. And as they kind of rode through from the safe lands or the safer lands of Umbria into this darkened forest, tragedy after tragedy happened. From the forest, pits appearing beneath his knight's horses, swallowing them whole, endless streams that kind of came and swept away some of his forces. Uh, Trolls and other creatures and hungry wolves assaulting his band of mercenaries and eventually just whittling them away step by step until the Cinema was left in the forest, this darkened hellscape where the Empire of Symbaroum used to sit. He's left alone. He's completely out amongst these elements, amongst this hostile terrain, and all he has is himself, a bit of magic, and his long sword to see if he can survive and make his way back through the waste of the Davakar forest. So that's where we'll pick up there. As I mentioned, we're going to be using some of the solo play rules. So if you're not familiar with solo play, this is actually something somewhat new to me. I've done it once with the One Ring as well. They had a really cool solo play system there. So we're going to be using some of the role tables that they offer for situations to kind of set the stage, as well as usually things that the DM would either describe or you'd ask the DM. So we're going to kind of use it right away and set kind of what's going on here and kind of what's as he's lost in the forest. What's the ambiance? What he should be looking out for as he tries to either make his way to the ruins if he wants to carry out this mission, or at least try to escape with his life. So I'm gonna flip it over. So they got a cool roll table here for solo play. So I wanted to show it off a little bit too. This is gonna be a little bit of a. So we're gonna roll some d20s and see what options we get here. The nice thing with this too, so we're kind of and basically we're and you should be asking an open-ended question with this too. Let me phrase the question. So right now he is lost in the deep dark areas of Davakar. And I'm gonna kind of see, and we're all asking the system right now, what's going on in these forests? What's pursuing him? Maybe what are some of the just the ambiance and what's after him? So I'm gonna roll some d20 and we're gonna see what comes out for him. And while I'm doing that too, if you just join the thread, make sure to throw Shadow into the chat. Let me throw a little one in there too, just so you've got that in. Shalal, and hopefully, you've been lucky before. Hopefully, get another system in there as well. I'm glad you followed us over from Twitch too. If this goes well, I think I will be using YouTube more, especially for the games of the month versus Twitch. I think most of the people that view the channel are on YouTube, so I think it'll be a little easier on that side. So as long as there's not any crazy technical difficulties, this is where we'll be hanging out. So throw that shadow in there. We got 2 people in so far. But yeah, let's roll some dice on here. So we roll 3d20. I'm gonna roll them one at a time just to kind of see what we get. Because you see, there's 6 different areas on here. You can kind of mix and match as you feel appropriate, and kind of see as what comes up with it. And basically, these are just kind of sparks for improv as a player, and so we kind of see what we get and see if we can find some fun situations for Vicinero. So first d20, we're gonna get a 19. So scrutinizing. So something's watching him, maybe something's evaluating him. Let's see how that keeps playing out. So let's do another one for part 2. 12. Uh, Lying. Something scrutinizing. Lying. Either they're lying about him. Maybe they're. That was not the the right spelling, I think, but maybe they're lying in wait. Uh, so we could do part 3, but I think it may be a little bit interesting to go to Dark Davakar right now because we've got something scrutinizing and lying. Let's see what we get. This could be starting it off in combat or starting it off with something crazy. So let's see how that goes. So 19. A late summer elf. So yes, Vicinro, his once pristine armor, muddied and battered, with blood from both himself as well as the men that were at his command, kind of hurriedly walks through, uh, runs through. These darkened forests of Davakar, these endless trees that seem to just grow twisted from the ground, where light barely, if at all, makes its way through the bottom. Something lies in wait. Something watches him. You see, as you kind of panning the camera out. You see a creature just kind of hiding and lying in the bushes, keeping track of him as he makes his way through these forests, as he tries to either find his way out or find his way to the riches that he promised his queen. So we are going to see too now with this late summer elf. He's scrutinizing our guy. He's seeing kind of what are kind of taking a look at him. Cool thing with this rule set, usually the GM would determine, hey, is this guy hostile? But they actually have a yes or no question there too that we're gonna utilize on this side too, and see if this guy is hostile to us. So we're gonna throw that yes or no. We're gonna roll a d20 on this side. With the way they have it set, I'm gonna guess he most likely is hostile towards us. So that's gonna lead us to a yes score. So we're going to take a -2 penalty on this d20, which basically allows us to get closer to to the yes on the what would be on the d20. So let's roll that and see what we get. Oh, one. So perfect. So one or less on this side. So let's see. So he is hostile. And yes, and so if you're familiar with improv, yes, and we're supposed to give a little bit extra here too. So he's hostile. We'll say this let's give a little description for the summer elf. This guy, he is carrying a short sword. You see, he's got painted tribal markings that allow him to blend into the deep dark of the Davakar forest. You see, as he kind of scrutinizes Vicinero, who is not trying to be stealthy at all. As Vicenero's panicked, his men are gone. He is lost alone in this deep, dark forest. The elf decides to kind of pull his blade uh, and kind of appear, make himself known to Vicenro. So we'll see as that scene plays out as he kind of pops out in front of our hero, blade drawn. You see him look Vicenro up and down, scrutinizing the man. And he goes, "This forest is not for you. You should leave this place if you want to retain your life." You see Vicenero kind of look shocked. He pops back, drawing his own fencing blade as well, as he sees this creature here. Vicenero, though, he's got a little bit of a silver tongue. He's gonna try to see if he can talk his way out of this one. So cool thing with this, as I mentioned, the way Symbaroum is set up, rather than having to come up with a DC, I've got to roll equal to or below Vicenero's persuasiveness, which we put all in on persuasive. So he's got a 15 here. So if I get a 15 or lower, we may be able to talk the elf down, or maybe we can get some cool information from him. So let's roll away. Uh, so this would be modified against the elf. Let's see, they got a good summer elf stat block here. Uh, will say they don't have a summer elf, or at least I'm not finding a summer elf block quickly. But we'll say that he's pretty aware. He's pretty self-assured. So we're going to give him a +2 modifier or -2, I should say, modifier for his resolute. And what that does, so with modifiers in this system, he has a good score of resolute. So that's going to bring the -2 is going to bring our 15 down to a 13 that we have to roll below. So it gives a little bit of makes it a little bit harder for Vicenrio to try to sweet talk his way out of this one. But you see Vicenrio look at the elf and he goes, "Ah, my friend, I appear to be a bit lost. I mean you no harm. Please, let us share a drink and maybe you can help me find my way out of this mess that I'm in." So let's see what he got there. So yeah, he failed. So he rolled a 19. You see the summer elf tribal markings, curved blade out is not it. He looks back at the Sinro clearly, where his eyes were once scrutinizing the man. You see clear disgust evident on his face. And he looks back and says, "Your body will lay in the forest, feeding the trees. You should not have made your way in." So we're going to get into initiative. So we're going to get into a combat, I should say, with the solo play rules. I didn't think we'd get into it so quickly, but solo play, you start off. The player character goes first, and then it kind of keeps going back and forth on this side. With some Symbaroum rules, each game or each fight, you get a movement action as well as an attack action, and then any free actions or attacks you have available to you. So neither one of these guys have a weapon with the long property. Both of them have short weapons. So you see Vicinero, he throws a cocky smile on his face, and he kind of goes, "Well, I tried to play it fair with you. If I have to drop you to concede or continue on my quest, so be it." He brings out his fencing blade. He tries to dive forward and drive it between the elf. So let's give it a roll. So once again, with this system, the DM does not roll dice, which makes it perfect for a solo play session like this. So I'm going to be using to give a little bit of a run through for Vicentro, if you didn't see the video for him, I picked Dominate as one of his abilities. Typically, you roll accurate for your attacks, but Dominate allows me to use Persuade instead of accurate. So he is going to try to lash out with his blade, and we'll see how he does there. It's persuasive. This guy is decently quick, so he's got a -1 modifier, so we've got to roll below 14 this time. Uh, nice, we get a success. So you see Vicinero leap forward, his fencing blade going in. You see it poke into the summer elf. Let's see how damage does on the side. So one damage. This elf is wearing kind of light leathers. So typically he'd roll a 1d4 to minus out this damage. But 1d4 is going to beat that one. So you see he tries to poke the blade in, but it just sticks into the leather armor, leaving the elf unharmed. So now it's going to be the elf's turn, but the elf is not going to roll. It's going to be the player character. This is true even if it was not a solo play game. Game Master doesn't roll, so rather than rolling for the elf to hit, the Sinro is going to see if he is quick enough to evade the elf's blast. So the elf is fairly accurate. This is another +2 or -2 to the modifier, bringing our number lower. -2 is bad for this side for us. So that's going to bring our quick down from 11 or 13 down to an 11. So we'll see how that goes for Vicenter. Nice. It's a success on that side. So you see this elf, just cold-blooded eyes, leap forward with his blade, trying to catch Vicentro off guard. This lightning-fast blade strike, but you see Vicentro throw him back in time, back in time to evade the blast. You see Vicentro has a little bit of a panicked look in his eye as he sees the blade, his first blade strike, not even pierce the being's armor. He is just see he's a little bit worried. And as you see the panic enters him, you see a cocky smile go back on his face, and you see him begin making arcane signs and drawing up on the corrupting magical powers of the world. He is going to try to cast Dominate on this creature. Or I should say, bend will, not dominate on the creature. So this is going to be Resolute versus Resolute. We've said that Summer Elf has a -2 modifier for Resolute. But the nice thing with this is I took the leader ability where I can do persuasive instead of resolute. So we're going to use our persuasive roll, made everything rely on that good 15. And we're going to see if we can bend him to our will, and we've got to beat a DC 13 for it. success. So let me post this in so you guys can see. I don't know how well you can see it in the little roll box over there, but let's throw that in there as well for the bend will for that. So he was able to succeed. I forgot this would roll for it too. So you see him kind of working this arcane magic, and you see his shadow flare up. In Symbaroum, the shadows are kind of windows into the soul of the creature. You see the Cinderals with in this darkened forest where light has not been able to breach the trees. You see a silvery shadow, a silvery light emerge from the Cinderal and begin to wrap around the summer elf. You see it begin poke at the elf's mind, slowly bending its resistance until the shadow engulfs the elf and just cracks its will. With Bend Will, we're able to seize control of this creature's will. The controlled creature can only perform one action in its turn. They can't use any active actions or abilities while the power is in effect. So we're going to, you see, as the elf kind of slumps down and becomes docile after Vicinera was able to work his magic. He's going to, we're going to see if we can ask him some questions. You see Vicinera look at the elf and go, "Do you know where the Elvicar ruins are? Uh, my queen has decreed that I must see what is available there, and even without the soldiers who came with me, I will not let the crown down." So we're gonna see too if this elf has any knowledge of it. Then if so, we're gonna ask another open-ended question using some of the solo play rules by one parts in a million to see kind of what we could fill in on that side. Before we do that, let me check in chat on this side too. Uh, Ursula, I'm glad you could stop by. We're definitely hang out while you're lurking or working too. But definitely, if you haven't yet, throw Shadow into the chat. If you put Shadow in, that's going to get you a chance to win a free PDF copy of the system. It's a pretty cool one. I definitely wish this is one of the ones I was a little bummed we were going to use the solo play rules because this is definitely a fun. It was one of the big ones that was offered at the time as a replacement to 5e. With the whole OGL controversy, which we're not going to get into today, this is really one of the big ones that kind of got repeatedly brought up as something that you could play instead of 5e if you didn't want to kind of get into that whole thing, we'll say. So throw Shadow in. Hopefully, get to bring this home to your crew. As always, we're raffling off one free PDF copy of the system through Drive-Thru RPG. So let me take a quick drink here, and we're gonna roll some dice and see if this elf has any knowledge of the Elvicar runes. Ah, 10 complication. Oh, all right. So there's a complication coming through. I'm not sure what that complication would be. Cool thing with this is we're gonna go back into our open questions table. So we asked the elf, was we sitting in this darkened forest, our blade held to the elf's neck as we've got him wrapped in our magic, our corrupted shadow holding him in place. Oh, and this is a good point too. I almost forgot this. Whenever you cast magic, one of the big themes of Symbaroum is magic is corrupting. It's a corrupting force because you're bending the rules of nature away from the way they're supposed to function. So whenever you cast a power or use a power like this, rather than like having like mana or things like this, you roll temporary corruption. Due to an ability we were able to take, I've got no corruption to start on Vicinero. Usually you take some corruption when you pick a power. So right now he has a threshold of 6, no corruption at all. Let's roll d4 and see how this spell impacts him. Sweet. So you see kind of the lines darken around his eyes. His face grows a bit haggard as he calls upon this magic. But so far, he's not corrupted. He's got himself in control. There's no stigmas or nothing that comes out from his magical use. But yeah, let's get into rolling some pieces. So we've got a complication coming. So we're asking the open-ended question: what complications would arise from this elf either telling him, or what complications could be added to this scene as Vicinero has this elf at knife point and under his magic. So we're gonna roll our first d20. That's 18. So we got resolving as one of our metrics here. 15. Preparing. Okay. Oh, let's see. So we've already got a fight in. I think it'll be cool to get part three and see kind of what may come out of this. Part three, you see, it's got like different kind of ideals or ideas on that side. So we're gonna see. So right now we've got resolving, as well as not repairing, preparing. We'll see what we get for part three. Two. Okay. So we've got resolving, preparing, and a decision. So you see the creature, the elf, kind of like pauses for a moment, and hold on, let me check out chat real quick. Oh yeah, green beans. So that's a good question. So the shadow one, so with a couple things on this, and this table, the shadow, it can be used for a number of different things. If you need a color, it can help on that side. But it also the shadows in this system, the shadows are kind of like a window into your soul on that side. So it allows, it reflects who you are, who your people are. So if you wanted to use it as a color, you could do so. But if we wanted to, and we could do that too, we could give a shadow to this elf we're speaking to. It kind of gives a little bit of information about them. So I picked silver for Vicinero, and silver is usually a sign of civilization. So that's why he's a civilized kind of man at arms for the queen. So his silver kind of reflects his inner nature of trying to tame the wilds, bring civilization in. So that was definitely kind of a cool one on that side. So this is kind of a double part where if you just need a color, you could roll this table, but also using these shadows can describe them. So we're gonna roll another d20 to see what this elf's shadow looks like. So let's see. Three. So that's yellow. Let me pull it up. I don't remember exactly what all the shadows were. So let me pull this up and see what we got on this side for our elf. And I should give him a name eventually too. Let's see. Yeah, this was kind of one of the things I thought was kind of a cool piece of that, because your shadow, if, we didn't take it, but one of the other cool things you can do with the shadows with the system, depending on your build, is you can do Witch's Sight, which allows you to kind of see if somebody's trying to deceive you by peering into their shadow. I thought that was kind of a cool piece there. But yeah, so the shadows ranges in color. Those are closer to nature, have shadows that are green, red, or white. And that kind of fits, I think, for this guy, because he got was a three on that side. So three is yellow. So that's a different one. So green, red, or white are nature. Civilized people tend to appear gold, silver, or copper. Those appear in the southern aspects have mixed natures. They can be a combination of colors. So it doesn't say what yellow is on this side, but I'm going to say that he's definitely kind of succumbed to the wilds. He's call out here causing chaos and trying to bring harm to those who make their way into the darks of Davokar. So that's what we'll kind of say for him on that side. But now that we've got the shadow piece, we got to come through and make something fun for what we've rolled on this guy. So as we asked him to tell us where these ruins are, we got that he was resolving, preparing, and making a decision. So this elf, with this kind of flickering yellow shadow behind him, you see he's kind of fear in his eyes, and you see he's kind of at the pinpoint point of making a decision. Betray his desires to keep people, specifically the Ambrarians, out of his forest, or let save his life and let this outsider know where the ruins are. So we're gonna do one more yes or no roll to see if he decides to continue resisting, or if he lets the our hero know what's going on. So he decides to speak and gives an and too. Yes, and on this side. So you see the elf caught in the shadow of or kind of caught in the center of shadow, work by his magic. You see the elf hang his head low, his hair kind of covering his face as he makes a decision. His resolve falters. Do you see him look up and he goes, "The temple you seek, it's deep into this forest of days make. If you go to the southwest, follow the illuminating grove deep within the forest, you will find the ruins you seek. Though I'm not sure if it would have been better for you to fall from my blade or find the horrors that will await you there. Justice will be carried out today either way." You see Vicinero kind of, throw on a cocky smile. Vicinero kind of smirks. He looks at him and goes, "Well, my friend, I'm Vicinero, man at arms to the queen himself. I shall be able to triumph over the forest." And he kind of gives a infantilizing pat on the head to the restrained uh, summer elf, and he goes, "If I could deal with you, I'm sure I could deal with whatever lies beyond. You sit here for a while and think on the transgressions," and he sheathes his fencing blade, "as I make my journey through." So you see the summer elf restrained in the center of shadow, and then see our hero, the human from Umbria, continue along his journey without a look back at the encounter that came before. Sweet. So we got through one of our first encounters on this side. This system's pretty lethal, so luckily Vicente was able to dodge. I wasn't counting on an encounter so quick, but that's kind of the cool thing with solo play and the randomness of the dice. This is truly the dice telling the story with us filling in some pieces in between. So we're going to continue on. A couple rule things too as we go through. So temporary corruption does fade as you leave the scene. So as he kind of walks through, you see him kind of go deeper into the forest. You see the summer elf with kind of the darkened skin, the tribal markings, hair covering his face begin to fade from view as we go deeper into the Davakar forest. As Vicinero, even though he is without his men that he set out his expedition with, still tries to go through and carry out the Queen's orders. Uh, Perfect. We're gonna take a break, but we're gonna get a quick shout out here. Thank everybody for joining the stream. Definitely, if you haven't yet, throw Shadow into the chat. So far, we've got 4 people into the giveaway. Uh, Definitely love making sure people can play some new RPGs. So if you haven't, throw it in there and make sure you get a chance to win. We'll probably roll this at the end of the session, just so we could get some cool winners there. Whew. Uh, Cool thing of I love solo plays. One of the cool and hard things. You get to kind of get some cool descriptions in there. I probably with my team plays or my group play session, I probably don't go into the descriptions as much as I usually like to. But this is one of the fun pieces with solo is you can really just go at it with your descriptions. So that's kind of been cool there so far. But yeah, so we're gonna pause, throw Shadow in there. I'm gonna take a quick drink, and we're gonna dive right back into it. Just realized I was using the wrong mic, so hopefully that's coming through a little clearer now for everybody too. I was using my laptop's mic, so that's probably a little scratchy at first. Got my good mic back on though. Perfect. So yeah, we are see Vicinro hours after the encounter. He's striding through the forest, trying to make his way towards this ruins and still trying to serve his queen's orders faithfully, even though his men have been killed. He's been trapped within this hellish, dark landscape of deep Nabakar. So we're gonna roll another time. So we're gonna see what's going on now. We're gonna kind of set the scene. He still has hours to reach this temple or the ruins, but we're gonna see kind of what's going to happen to him now. Maybe he will encounter some natural disasters. Maybe he'll find some beast. Who knows? Let's get some rolls in here. We're gonna do another one of the open-ended questions. So we're seeing um, what's the scene as he moves through this darkened woods with twisted plants and an unhospitable terrain that seems to suck the light and warmth out of those who move with their way within. Let's get some D20s in there. Four, all right, we get deceiving. Fun. Well, deceiving and lying. All right, we're going all the way in. So it could be either lying, or they're lying in wait. That 10. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna cherry pick here a little bit. We're gonna see what would be the most fun for the story. One of the big things with solo play rules is rather than pick what's most advantageous to the character. This is really about telling a fun story with the dice. So we're gonna kind of see what will be the most fun out of the remaining ones. It's not gonna be an Ambrian or a Shadow, but it can either be the Part 3 piece or Dark Davakar. So right now we've got deceiving and lying, and part three could be allies, which we can have some fun with that. Or it could be war. We're going with allies. So you see Vicinero trekking through the forest, just weariness taking him. You see some of the corruption's faded from his face after his spell, but you do see he still looks haggard, his eyes still look weary as he makes his way through the forest all alone in Davakar. You see bits of light start to poke their way through the canopy of leaves that hidden trees that block the upper view of Davakar. And you see as he goes through and just treks in, the light starts to play tricks on his eyes. You see Sentinel starts to look and sees armored figures in the distance, and you see him squint, trying to make them out. And you see the symbol of Queen uh, Hannah, I think it was. Hannah, I believe. You see that symbol, the Queen of Umbria, on their armor. You see the Sentinel's face light up as he kind of starts to run towards them. He calls out, "My friends, I thought you were lost." And we're gonna see. Let's see. We're gonna see if he is able to realize if this is an illusion or not. So this would be. Let me pull up the actions. I think this is going to be resolute. But let me make sure on that side. Yeah, shout out, hey, Oscar, thanks for joining us. Yeah, these ones are kind of fun. This is my second time doing one. I did one for the One Ring for the solo play. It's kind of a fun way to learn the system. You see, it's a lot of, or if you're doing one on stream, it's a lot of talking, but even outside of that, it's kind of your own choose your own adventure. It's a fun way to learn how systems work, even if you're not able to play with a group. I had a lot of fun doing it with One Ring, and this one's been pretty cool too. Uh, I like the Parts by a Million, but if you ever get a chance, check out Strider mode by One Ring. I've only played two, so this is a real limited opinion, but Strider mode for the One Ring is like super well done. Gives you so many options as a solo player. Sweet. So let's see. I think this will be resolute, but I'm not certain. Yeah, so mind-bending magic or corruption. Sweet. Yeah, so this is gonna be, we're gonna roll resolute for our guy here. And also, we're gonna do a yes or no on this one too, because this area it seems like deeper and darker than you'd expect. You feel kind of the world's corruption around you. We're gonna say, is this area corrupted? Yes or no? So we're gonna roll d20 on this side, and what that corruption does is we get some temporary corruption, or even permanent corruption, just by being in there. So we're gonna see what that does for our hero here. So 12, 12 is no. So the area is not corrupted. You see, or it's corrupted, but not so deep that it's imparting corruption on those who part within. So you see, Vicentro, he calls out to his men. You see these shadowy figures in silver, bright gleaming armor with the queen symbol on them. Their faces blurred. staring back at Vincero and to be able to discern, is this a trap or is this an illusion or this is his men brought back to him? We're gonna roll a resolute roll for that one. No modifier, it's just going up against the world. So this is gonna be him trying to beat 11. Succeeds. So you see him look back as he kind of sees that the faces of these people don't they don't look like they're not able to make it out. You see shadows just covering the faces of what he thinks are his soldiers. You see he starts to run towards them, but as he realizes these aren't his friends, you see him kind of pull back and stare in disbelief at them. But as this comes through, yes, well, so what do they do? Uh, we're gonna roll another yes or no. Do these things try to harm them? Do they try to break down his resolve? Do they try to corrupt him? We're gonna see. So basically, we're asking: are they gonna try to harm him? We're gonna roll d20 for that, and then we're gonna roll a d22 just to see kind of on the table what we get for the open-ended questions as well. And while we're doing that, if you haven't yet, throw Shadow into the chat to get your chance to win a free PDF copy of the system. Symbarum's a pretty sweet game, especially if you are looking to try something a little bit different than a kind of dark fantasy, a little bit different than kind of the typical heroic fanfare of 5e. This is kind of a cool way to do so. And the system, believe it or not, with Vicendra's luck so far, it's pretty deadly. It's one of those ones getting into a fight. It's kind of like an OSR a little bit, some of the old school Revolution and the Renaissance games, whatever you want to call it, where if you get hit, you can get down pretty quickly. Sweet. So we got a D20, so they are not trying to harm him. So you see the shadowy figures in the Queen's own armor, silvery, gleaming, just kind of as Vicenrio looks at them in disbelief, you see them just step to the side, as kind of moving out of his way. Their shadowy faces still glare at our hero. As you see Vicenrio kind of looks around, trying to see if he could go around the path or trying to make his way around without moving through the throngs of men. But he sees that he wants to continue his journey. He needs to proceed on this path. Excuse me. He needs to move through them. So you see, he kind of walked through. He started with a company of 12 men at arms and knights of Queen. And you see, as he walked through, they all give their disapproving glare. Shadows don't resolve into faces. They still look at him, but you can see just through, even through them, the deep shadows blocking their face. You can just feel the disapproval running off of them. As a Cinero who was supposed to lead them to glory, led them all to their death, but he is still alive, still trekking through. So we're gonna do one more resolute roll here. We're gonna see either if he takes some corruption or takes some psychic damage as he walks through and sees these men that he's led to his death. Kind of just disapprovingly glaring at him. So let's roll that in. I do. If I was running this as a DM, I would be like, "This is being an area we could take some psychic damage or take some a little bit of corruption or something ways to represent what happened to him." So we're gonna roll d20. We're gonna weight this towards yes on this side because one of the cool things you can do um, is let me make sure. I think it's either advantage you give yourself weighting it towards yes, or you give yourself +2. So let me see on that side. Uh, Oh, yep, so advantage. Sweet. So yeah, so we're gonna give ourselves advantage on that side towards yes. See if he takes some damage or takes some corruption on this side. So we're gonna roll d2, d20. So 15, or disadvantage, I should say, 15 or 7. So disadvantage on this side is yes. So as he's walking through the faces of these soldiers, kind of staring at him again, just trying to breathe down his resolve. You see, they're going to the corruption starts to surround him, and we're going to see if he takes either permanent corruption on this side or if he's able to fend it off with his resolute. So we're going to do one more resolute check and see what comes up for us. So he fails. So as you see, as he walks through and sees the disapproving glares of the men that he led to his death, the usual haughty, kind of overconfident Vicinero starts to break down a little bit. At first, he was kind of striding through, his head held high, his hand on the pommel of his fencing blade. But as he goes through, his pace starts to accelerate. His eyes start, rather than holding his head ramrod straight up and above, but he starts to look left to right, panic starting to seep in. At the end, he begins to run and try to escape them, but they, rather than chasing him, they kind of flex into the shadow, the deep dark of the bar, and it overwhelms him. He is going to take 1d4 of permanent corruption. Remember what it's to, we've got a 6 corruption threshold, but a half corruption, so if we get a 3 or better, something's going to happen on the side. So let's see what happens to the singer with this situation. 2. So he's a permanent corruption, so this won't go away at the end of the scene. So he is corrupted. As you see, as this darkness surrounds him, Cinerosa starts running through the forest, trying to outrun his guilt, run this chaos that is chasing him. But as he emerges eventually from the shadow into this area that is lit by the bioluminescence of the plants around him. You see he has deep dark lines around his eyes. His face is haggard. It looks like he hasn't slept in or ate in weeks. He is truly, you can see this corruption is starting to wear into him. And even his shadow, which is usually a bright silver, kind of representing the shine of civilization, you see bits of darkness encroaching into it as he's getting corrupted by the forest around him. Sweet, so we got through another scene on this side. So one thing, and this is like for anybody, I made like a solo play video sometime. Because I think one of the big things to solo play, and I'm still super new to this, but it's just kind of like yes anding and trying to find like things that are fun for the story. And I thought that scene, even though it wasn't, we got the different answer on the dice. I thought it'd be cool to give him some corruption or give him some pieces on that side there, just for how it fits in the story. Before we go through, for anybody that just joined, throw Shadow into the chat. It'll give you a chance to win a free PDF copy of the Symbaroum system. So far, we've only got 3 people in there, so make sure to throw it in. It looks like oh yeah, so yeah, so you've already got the Symbaroum PDS on that side. I haven't checked out the 5e one. I've been looking. I've been curious about how that looks. I haven't been playing super much 5e lately, but I've been kind of curious how they translate the system over to it because I think that could be pretty cool to see or play out a one shot using. So I may have to check that out sometime. Definitely some cool pieces there. But yeah, throw Shadow in there. We're gonna get into another scene. We're actually gonna take a quick kind of couple-minute break here. So throw Shadow into the system if you haven't already. Get your chance to win a free PDF copy. I'm gonna run, get some more water, and I will be right back. Welcome back, crew. Part two of Symbaroum of our March game of the month. Thanks everybody for joining us for our first ever live stream on YouTube. Definitely liking the system so far. We haven't had any major technical difficulties, which is more like I say for some of our first streams on Twitch. So we're moving on up on that side. Sweet. So we're gonna get back into it. As always, our games of the month. We're gonna be giving away a free PDF copy of the system. So if you just joined over our break, make sure to throw Shadow. Let me throw it into the chat too. Shadow into the chat. This will give you a chance to win a free PDF copy of the Symbaroum system that you can bring home to you and your crew and get to have some fun games on that side. So throw it in. Maybe you'll get to be the lucky one that gets to bring this back for your table. So check that out. Before we dive back into the game with Vicinero, as we're doing our solo play session of Symbaroum, I do want to give a shout out to our April game of the month. So this has been one I've wanted to play forever. And we're going to probably do this one a little bit different than usual. Usually I DM all the games that we run for our games of the month. But this has been one that I've been wanting to play forever. It's one of the few games I prefer being a game master than a player. I love both. I love TTRPGs as a whole. But if I had to vote, being a game master is so much more fun to me than being a player. But the next game is one of the few ones that I want to try out as a player before being a DM. So the next month for April, we're going to be running Hall of Cthulhu, one of the big three. I wouldn't say big three, one of the big games, one of the giants of the tabletop RPG space. And one I've never played before. I've not played this one. So I've never really got the chance to mess around with it. It's one of the few I truly would rather run or would rather play in than run. So I don't know who's going to be DMing this one yet. If you throw in the comments, if you know like any cool GMs or like any like big like Cthulhu GMs or YouTubers or anything like that, excuse me, let me know in the comments because I think I may be kind of hiring a GM for this one, just so we can kind of see some fun gameplay on that side because I've looked forward to this system for years. I've owned this book. I haven't cracked it yet for probably about a year or so, and I'm really looking forward to kind of see how the system plays and get some crazy Call of Cthulhu horror going. So stay tuned for that next month. Uh, yeah, definitely. Usually this would be one of me being doing the dying boss, but usually I do like to see my player characters, my PCs have horrific fates. But this time I'm gonna do one of the PCs in the seat. It's my birthday month, so I'm like, hey, this would be kind of a cool time to break out Cthulhu and switch to a different side of the screen for it. So stay tuned. It'll be just like normal. They'll be running through character creation videos, first impressions, all of that. And so I won't be in the GM seat this time. But yeah, let's dive back into Vicenro's adventure. He's able to escape a blood-hungry wood elf, or summer elf, I should say, that was trying to prevent his passage through Damakar. He was able to outwit him with utilizing his magic to bend the creature's will to his own and learn where the Elbakar ruins were. He then was able to make his way through the forest again, where he was confronted by the corruption of the forest, showing the men that he had led into combat dying behind her. And the men he had led into this combat scenario and lost their lives and felt their disapproval glaring back at him. And he got a little corruption for it. But now he's gonna arrive at these ruins. This arrogant soldier of the queen is dead set on really scouting out and seeing what riches could be provided for these ruins and not going back to the queen empty handed after losing his men. So he's keeping it going. So we're going to go back to our open questions table and we want to see what lies in store at these ruins, what these ruins are like. We're going to throw that in and see kind of how that goes for it. So as always, we're going to roll 2d20 or 3d20. We're going to roll the first two right up front, and then we're going to see kind of how it goes and what may come up for it. Oh, thanks for joining us, Wonder. Yeah, definitely. Glad you threw Shadow in. I'm glad you were looking forward to this. One's a fun system. We're running it solo play. Due to some my usual playing or my table had some scheduling issues, so I'm using Parts by a Million solo play to run this one. And that's kind of what the table you see in front of you now is. So we're gonna be rolling some D20, and you're in the giveaway too. Now we got 5 people in our giveaway for the PDF copy. So we can play it could be anybody's game here. Yeah, let's get some D20 going. All right, we got a 2. So 2 on this one is assurance. Okay. Another D20, 11, improving. Okay, this one may be a little harder. So let's see. We're gonna do this one again. We're gonna roll the third D20, and we're gonna decide whether part 3, Dark Davakar, or what would fit best there. So we're gonna see what comes there. Kind of what would have the most interesting story to tell with it. So we'll roll and play with it. Okay. Yeah, so we see, let's see, uh, assuring, improving, and either a decision or a necromage. We're gonna mix those two together. You see, I'm not sure how to do assuring yet. We'll figure that out, but as Sinro makes his way through the dark forest of Dunbar, kind of haunted by the memories of his soldiers that he had led to their death, still single-mindedly pursuing the Queen's goal, he eventually makes his way to a clearing where you see these ruins of what was once probably a great temple for the country of Symbaroum, now falling into disrepair. You see vines and twisted growth surrounding it and encircling it and just binding it to the forest itself. Uh, but as the scenario gets closer, he sees he kind of actually hears and feels a rustle through the forest. He feels that the dark, deep cold just surround him. And he sees, roll D20 here too. You give a color shadow with this one. Shadows are very important to the lore of Symbaroum. He sees a purple shadow surrounding these ruins, and he hears a fell voice call out to him. And he goes, "Nothing living shall pass through these halls. I have claimed them as my own. Burn away the Senro. You are not welcome here." And he hears this blast come out from the Necro Mage, offering him a decision. Shall he continue forward, or shall he be cowed back by the Necro Mage's warning? Uh, the scenario, let's give it a little resolute roll. See if he is cowed or if he decides to keep pushing forward. Oh yeah, so you see Vicinero initially as he hears this voice, sees that purple shadow surround the ruins. You see him initially kind of take a step back, his hand falling to his blade. We can see his face go rigid, his neck kind of crank back up and holds itself high yet again. And you see he goes, "On the Queen's orders. Necromage, you can bluster and blow as you want, but I will make my way within, and I will see what riches are Umbrians, what should be beheld to us as Umbrians." You see him holding you see as he does that, he draws his blade, it's a quick little flourish with it, and he holds his hand out, and he begins to make his way towards the ruins. Sweet. So we're gonna have him go into the ruins, and as you see him make his way through this purple shadow of Necromage's own influence surrounds him. You see, like he comes through the other side, and within these ruins, kind of you see a deep, low cut staircase made of stone. You can see kind of along the staircase are these wicked looking vines, some of them deep verdant green, some of them bloody red, but the ones that seem to be the most disturbing have pulsing image of purple vines. You see them pulsing almost as if they had a heartbeat amongst them. You see deep thorns come through these vines. And you see as it goes through, the vines get thicker and bigger and thornier as he makes his way down these stairs. We're going to roll a yes or no one and see if any harm or any chaos happens to him as he tries to make his way down the stairs. So with this, we're gonna say we're gonna give a +2 to make it a little bit. Oh, sorry. We're asking, does anything bad? So we want this to. So I think it's going to lend itself more to yes, being a necromage, the creepy ruins deep within the darks of Davokar. There's likely something bad that's going to happen. So we're going to say yes, and we're going to give it a -2 on the roll two to hopefully put us in something crazy or some fun complications. So let's roll that. 6, so 6 - 2, so yes. So as you see the Cinero moving through, he tries to put a trademark smirk on his face as he goes through and tries to make his way deep into the darkness of the ruins through these stone steps, kind of making his way into the heart of the forest. You see these vines that were surrounding the stairs begin to move. First, it's this deep purple one, and you see it latch itself from the roof of the ruins, and you see the red one move forward. You see the green one attach itself to a well. You can see them all dart and make their way quickly towards our hero. We're gonna see if he's able to resist, if he's able to avoid it. It's a cool thing with this system. I probably beat it to death, but no D or even in the regular game, Game Master doesn't roll. So with this, it's a trap being sprung. We're going to see if he is able to be quick enough to avoid these vines pelting him and digging their thorns into his flesh. So we're going to roll a quickness. We're going to keep it at a base level on this side. So we're going to see if he's able to do it. It's just going to be a DC 13. So failure. With this one, you roll low or equal to, it's a success, above or just above, it's a failure. So he got a 14 versus a 13, so he does fail. So you see these vines lash out quick as lightning. One wraps around his feet, one wraps around his torso. The deep purple one, the large one, wraps around his neck and begins squeezing, thorns tearing into his flesh. He's going to take some damage here. We're going to say this is a D6 of damage, or I'm actually going to say it's a D8 of damage. See how that does. So we rolled a 4 on the Vine's damage. He has armor. With this, he has light armor, but we took the Man at Arms attribute, which allowed us to bump that from a D4 for armor rolls to a D6. So we're going to roll that D6 and see how much of that 4 we actually take in damage. So we rolled a 1, so we're going to minus that out. So we take 3 in damage. The Cinero, if you watched our character creation video, has 10 toughness. So he is down to 7. You see those vines pierce into his skin, drawing blood. He shouts out, and you see pain and fear enter into him as this all surrounds him, and he's starting to kind of be pulled towards the walls. We're going to see if he's able to break his way out. We're going to roll a strong roll and see if he's able to kind of just overpower one of them. As you kind of see him flexing his muscles, trying to break free of these vines that are strangling him and pulling, drawing, kind of almost seeping his blood into their own vines as they dig their thorns deep into his flesh. Sweet success. So you see Vicinero kind of flex once, try to pull and pulls back, flex again, pulls, kind of moves forward, and the vines try to pull him back. But you see Vicinero just watch his shadow flare up in a bright silvery glow. He just moves his arm first, breaking the green vine around it. He trucks forward with his torso, breaking the purple round surrounding that, and he grabs his neck with both hands and rips off the red vine, digging into his flesh. You see, he tries to regain his footing, but he does roll down the rest of the steps, leaving him discombobulated on the ruined floors. Sweet. So we're down 3 HP. We've got 2 corruption. We 7 HP left for our guy. Viceros, he tries to make his way deep into these ruins of Elvikar and find what treasures await him. Before we dive back into it, though, for anybody that's just joining, make sure to drop Shadow into the chat. Welcome, Walter. Welcome, Wonder. You guys, we got you in the list on that side. We've got 6 people so far in the chat. As always, we're going to be giving away a free PDF copy of the system, this time on YouTube. So make sure to throw that Shadow in to get your chance to win. Sweet. Chat, sound off too. If any of you guys have played solo play games or any cool solo play resources, I'm thinking of doing more of these ones. I actually just picked up from Drive Through RPG. I think it was like the GM Mancer or GM Emulator. It's like another kind of agnostic solo play resource. I think this is pretty fun, especially if you have times where you can't get a table behind you because scheduling is a nightmare. You still want to play. This can be kind of a fun way to do so. Oh, hey, Forrest. Good to see you, man. We haven't played for the Wild Stranded for a while. I'm glad you could come through and hang out. Sweet. So we're gonna dive back into it. We see Vicinero on the cold floor of the ruins. Uh, Blood seeping from his neck and arms, from his recent skirmish with the vines protecting this facility. What you see as he looks up, the darkness surrounding him, true darkness without the light of even kind of the evening light that makes its way through the forest trees, illuminating. You see he kind of reaches in and grabs a torch and lights it. You see kind of light, and it's a shaky orange glow emerge from it as he takes a look around him. And we're going to roll to see what he sees. So we're going to do open-ended question, and as with the open-ended questions, we're going to kind of see what this sets us up for in that side. So let's see what we get here. So we're going to throw in 3d20. I want you to roll 2d20 at first, and then we'll roll the third one after, and we'll see if anything cool comes up and which way we want to go with it. So we got a 15 claiming, 14 obsessing. All right. We're gonna go third one on the kind of we're gonna go part 3 for the third one, and we're gonna see what's there. But proclaiming, obsessing, I felt we're gonna meet our necromage right now. So 14. Yep. Proclaiming, obsessing enemies. So you see, as Vicinero lights the torch around him, the orange glow of the fire casting light through these deep ruins which normal people have not tread upon in centuries. These ruins of the fallen civilization Symbaroum around him. The knight of Umbria sees a hellish landscape at home. He sees the skeletons, the remains of those who either adventurers like himself, or maybe the remains of those of the once great Symbarums who inhabited these ruins scattered around. You see these skeletons, these bits of people laying around, making these ruins look like a mausoleum. But you also see in a deep, hazy, purpley mist and shadow kind of obscuring him, the necromage. You see this mage with deep purple robes, almost complementing him as well as accentuating his own shadow. You see this creature has just been corrupted beyond measure. He's got some stigma on him as well. We're gonna roll for stigma in a second too. You see he has a wild look to him as he takes in Vicinero, this intruder to his home, this errant knight who had the misfortune of crossing him. Sweet. So we are going to do a couple of things. I'm going to see. Hopefully, they have a necromage in here. I think they probably do. I did not check to make sure that they did before. Once we have to re-roll that. So let's see. They do. So you see this necromage, the deep purple robe corruption around him. But as you look at him, you see, as Vicinero looks at him, he sees that the man is not flesh and blood. While there may have been flesh and blood before, with his haggard appearance and corrupted visage, now he almost fades in and out of existence as he's a spirit confronting our hero here. Sweet, so they do have an ability. We're gonna say so. It says enemies with us. We're gonna see if there's any other enemies and how many of them are there. So we're gonna roll yes or no. Are there other enemies? And then what type to see what's going on and how much trouble Vicinero is in. So throw that d20 here. We'll get that going. So 11 on that side. Complication. Let's see. I don't want to say complication. We're going to say yes. There are other enemies here on that side. Let's see. So unexpected plot twist, unexpected event is the way Parts Per Million describes this. So we're gonna say as Vicinero looked through, this guy was supposed to be proclaiming and obsessing. So this necromage looks at Vicinero and he goes, "Yeah, I told you the living shall not be born in this area. This ruin belongs to the dead. It belongs to the true Symbians." You see him raise his hands, and as he raises them ever higher, you see some of the bones and remains of the Symbarans below begin to assemble themselves and form skeletons and raise along with him. We're gonna roll a D4 and see how many skeletons come through. D4 minus one, we'll say. So let's say one. Skeleton arises. The bones, usually forming in and build themselves into one full skeleton, backing up its necromancer as well. And we are going to get into combat. So let's get it going. Sweet. If you just joined this the stream, make sure to throw in Shadow. We are Vicinero is in the thick of it as he makes his way through Navakar Forest. He's in a conflict with the Necro Mage. We're gonna see he's got some skeleton as well as a Necro Mage. He's gonna be fighting off against. He is the one that gets to act first, though. So we're gonna see how he does. Let me do a real quick look here and find skeletons. I'm pretty sure they've got skeletons in the system. I should check that first. Well, we're gonna say it's a Dragul, actually. A Dragul skeleton. So we're gonna use the Necromage and the Dragul skeleton in this crypt of horrors that Vicinero finds himself within. So let's see how he does. With the solo play rules, players get to act first. With the out the solo play rules, and we do you'd either do the highest quickness score, or if you had a tie on that side, you'd use vigilance as the other rating for it. If you had a tie at both quickness and vigilance, you'd roll a d20. Let's take a look at these guys' blocks and see if he would have even tied with them or had to roll. So our Vicenero's quickness is 13, so he's faster than the skeleton to cool. As well as the Necromancer's quickness is 13 as well, Vigilance 10. So I think we would tie there. Let me see. Yeah, so we would have tied. We actually, I was thinking how often does somebody tie for both quickness and vigilance as I was going through the rules, but we would have tied the Necromage. Even though we're gonna go first for the solo play rules, I'm always curious to see how this rolls out. So Cinnamon got 11, the Necromage got a 2, so he would have still went first out of these guys if he could play this straight rules as written. Sweet. So yeah, you see Vicinero holding a torch in one hand, his fencing blade in the other. He kind of pass light around. You see him put a smirk on. His cockiness still not abated yet. And he goes, "The dead may hold their secrets and may hold this ground, but I'm a servant of the Queen. I've come here to collect the ruined riches, and I will not leave empty-handed. If you wish to be a foe, you're gonna see him hold that fencing blade up and do a little bit of a flourish. He goes, "You'll see why I've earned my command." He's gonna leap at the shat or the drag or the skeleton dragool and try to make a flashing attack with his fencing blade. So with this, as we said, we've got the dominate ability. Usually you have to roll accurate, but we have to roll persuasive with this one. So with the drama card, they are a flat 10 for quickness. So it's going to be, he has to just beat a 15. And he does. So you see him just leap quick as lightning, his blade lashing out and poking through, poking into this Dragool. He's going to roll his damage to see if he's able to pierce through the beast's own resistance. Let's go. 5 damage, solid. Yeah, so he comes through solid, like a pure perfected form. Vicenero is one that has practiced his form in the mirror more times than he should. And he stabs into it with kind of trying to pierce into the Dragool. So this Dragool has studded leather. So we're gonna roll a d4 and see what. Yeah. So as a skeleton being stands up, the armor that he once wore in life protecting him, you see our Sinro stab into it. It just barely pierce through the armor and just get a bit of pain into the skeleton Dragool. You see the Sinro step back and hold his blade up high. So now it is the Necro Mage's turn. So with this, we're gonna roll quickness for our guy. So let's see. So yeah, so this my nice thing too, I always like when the books give you tactics to run with your monsters. So they give us some tactics on how to run the Necromage, especially for a solo play game. Having them give you the playbook makes life a little bit easier. So the Necromage likes to call its victims by bending their will. So we've got bend the will for Vicinero. He used that on the elf earlier. We're going to use it against him now. So with this, DM doesn't, or the game master typically doesn't roll. We're going to be rolling for Vicinero. Typically, this would be a resolute roll, but we took that leader ability. So rather than roll resolute, we're going to roll persuasive. With this, I don't think I minus anything out on that side. Actually, I think I do. Ooh, all right, let's Knuckle Mage is challenging. Um, so this guy has Resolute 5. Reading the rules for Bend the Will. This Resolute typically versus Resolute Test. So it's going to be Persuasive versus Resolute for Vicinero. He has a -5. So Vicinero is usually 15. Persuasive is going to be a 10. So he has to roll a 10 or below, or his will is going to be bent. He failed, and usually he would have succeeded on that too. So you see the Necromage's purple shadow kind of roll out like thunderclouds in a cold night. Just kind of see them crackling and booming as they move through the purple shadows, inching its way towards the Senro. And you see them surround our hero and start pull at his will, breaking him down, uh, sapping his will. Eventually, you see him break. His will crumbles. So our will is bent. We are under this guy's control. Let me pull up Ben Will. I think we get to make a check at the end of our next turn to see if we are able to avoid or get out of it. Doesn't say. I'm going to say there's a check at the end of the turn. This is going to be pretty rough for Incineroar. That's the Necromage's turn. The skeleton is up. You see the skeleton just brandishing this rusty sword and making its way towards Incineroar. You see as he's caught in the Necromage's grasp. He sees in his eyes as the blade thins and tries to cut him down. So Vicentro is still able to roll quickness. This doesn't stop him from that side, so he's going to try to see if he can avoid the roll. It's going to be quickness versus this guy's accurate. Luckily, these guys aren't accurate, so we get a +1. So rather than be a 13, it's going to be a 14 we have to beat. And we beat it. So Visidro, even trying to fight this creature's bending of his will, he's able to just dodge aside as the skeleton comes through and tries to cut him with his rusty sword. All right, this would be Vicenro's turn, but his will is bent. You see as this rolling crawl of thundery purple shadow surrounds him with the necromage trying to exerting his will. You see, what's he gonna do? He's gonna tell Vicenro to drop his blade and kneel. So you see Vicenro's blade drop and he kneels, his head held low. They're going to get a little bonus to attacks, or Vicenro is going to get a minus to his quickness as he's dropped his blade and dropped his guard. Sweet. Let's see. So we're going to go through the Necromage calls out its tactics. So the Necromage bent his will. He's going to follow up by making him terrified. And let's try to finish him off with his will is helpless. So let's see. I'm not sure how the terrified trait works with this. We're going to look it up real quick as we're talking. Terrified, all right. So the creature can stride and tear, or can strike terror into the hearts of one or more creatures. Terrify requires that the creature has the monstrous trait Spirit Form, which we do. So the creature's gaze forces a single victim to make a resolute test, or automatically spends both its actions backing away. If the victim can't back away, it'll defend itself in desperation, but cannot compel itself to attack. The victim must make a test each turn, trying to shrug off the fear. All right, yeah, so he's going to try to make another persuasive check because we've got the leader ability. Fortunately, this guy's still going to get his -5 on that side due to being a resolute test versus resolute. So we got to beat it. And he fails. So his will has been broken. You see this undead spirit stare into the Senro. His eyes just boring into our normally cocky hero. And you see true panic, true terror enter into the Senro. You see his eyes go wide. He starts to inch back slowly with pure terror, and his will is bent away from itself, enters into his eyes. All right. Sweet, sweet. That's the him. So we're gonna do the skeleton as well. So the skeleton's gonna try to hit him again. He is kneeling though, so he's gonna get a minus. I'm not sure what the penalty to that is offhand. I don't feel like looking it up. So we're gonna say a -1 to quickness with him kneeling. When he succeeds, what you see as he sees the screwed source of terror in the necromage's eyes, he throws himself backwards, and you see he just dodges aside as the blade comes down from the skeleton. So now we are on our turn again. Um, he is meant to flee. So you see he's going to convert both of his actions to movements. You see him scrambling up the stairs, fearfully looking back behind him as he tries to escape these ruins as the Necromage has shown him the face of death. The Necromage is up. He's going to use his movement to stride after him. And he is going to try to which he had to use his movement to stand up and then one movement to run. So Necromage is going to be able to reach him with just one movement. And he is going to try to hit him with his claws. So accurate. So it's going to be a straight quickness from our guy on this side. So let's see if he is able to dodge this creature. Success again. So you see the Necromage flail out, its claws swiping at the air, but Vicinero proves far too fast for him. Not as able to dodge aside and continue his trek up above. Following though is the Drava, the skeleton Drava, and that guy is going to swing again with his rusty sword. We'll see if Vicinero is able to avoid it. Failure. All right, so he dives inside as the spirit kind of flails, or the necromancer spirit slashes at him with his claws. Sort of proves quick enough to move aside from that blade, but as a rusty sword comes down, it catches our hero. Let's see, what's a rusty sword? I will say, I'm not sure how much of the history. Look up. Wait a minute, we can figure that out pretty easy. It doesn't say rusty sword though, so we'll say it's a D8. 7, alright. We've got light armor, we've got man at arms with ours. Oof, alright. So you see the Senro terrified, is not able to make the most of his armor. This being's blade comes down, the skeleton's blade cuts deep. You see blood spurting from his wound, as Vicinro is near death's door at this time, because that does 6 damage. Vicinro took some as he went through from the vines, leaves him at 1 damage. Also, with this game, you have a heavy pain threshold. So our pain threshold is 5. This did 6 damage. So we need to find out what happens with that. 'Cause I forgot what happens when you have a pain threshold. Let's see. Single attack. We've already subtracted armor. So we get to decide between the two of these. The affected creature is knocked down. It has to get up and see our special action on that side. Or the one who does the damage is allowed to perform an immediate free attack. We get to decide here. I'm gonna say it knocks us down. So you see us fall to the ground. It's not flat-footed as this rusty sword cuts into our hero. He looked up, feared his eyes, for once his confidence shaken, with a terrifying visage of these skeletons and the necromage hovering above him. It's back again to his turn. He is going to have to use a special action to stand up. So he's going to have to use his movement to stand up, as well as either use his action to stand up all the way, or he could try to do a quick test and just use his movement. So we're going to try to do a quick test. And this is just based off his regular quick, so a 13. Sweet. He stands up, and he is going to try to flee this chaoticness. So he is going to use his action to disengage. So he's already used that. So they're, let's see. Yeah, so he's gonna try to disengage and keep running. They do get a free attack against him though. So he is just panicked. He is just running for his life, trying to save himself from this horror that he's found beneath. Uh, but he's going to try to see if he can get away from these. He's going to make two quickness attacks. First one from the Dravacon +5 or +1 fails. Let's see it both fail. This other one's at a flat. Heals and seeds. So he seeds from Necromage. Before we get that, shout out Vosper. Thanks for hanging out with me, man. Hopefully, I'll let you know too if you win on that side. We appreciate you stopping by. For anybody who hasn't yet, throw Shadow into the chat. I think this is probably getting near the end of our adventure for Vicinero, depending on how this goes for him. So throw Shadow into the chat if you haven't yet. Let me throw this in, because this may be the end for our intrepid hero here. The Java can hit. So let's see. We're gonna roll a 1d8. Two damage. All right. We're gonna roll a 1d6 from our armor due to man at arms. 5. You see this time Vicinero is able to react. You see he turns to the side, allowing the blade to scrape across his leather armor. And he emerges unscathed, bleeding, armed, but on his feet and running again. He's going to make another persuasive check to see if he is able to break free of the Bane's terror. He has to beat it's a -5 from the Necromage, so he has to beat a 10. He gets it. You see, he comes to himself as the blade crosses through, a cocky smile appearing on his face. And he goes, I'll live today. You will not bring me down. I'm the Symbaroum man of the Queen's own service. We'll come back with an army and burn this place to hell. Sweet. So we're gonna see. That was his turn. We're gonna see if he can survive another round of hell and see if he can make his way outside of the ruins. So the creature is going to attack with its claws. Again, the Necromage. So let's see how that goes for him. Because I think the Necromage had, I can't remember what his accuracy was. I think it was flat. Accurate, yep, just flat. So quickness check. We're going to try to see if he can dodge it. He says to beat a 13. He fails. All right. Oh, and I've been doing damage wrong here too. We're gonna keep doing it the way we've been doing it, but I forgot about this. The GM usually doesn't roll damage. The DM just usually take whatever that damage is. So this says Wraith Claws 5. So I would just usually take 5 damage here. I think with it just being me versus me, it's fun to roll the dice and see how the dice go. With the damage being 5 here, we're gonna say he's rolling a d10. So this is gonna be a hard one for us. So 4. Now we have the d6. We have 1 HP, or 1 toughness, I should say. So if we roll a below 4, we would be down, but we rolled a 4. So you see the claws rake against his armor again, slashing across his back as he tries to make his way out of this hellish ruins. So he's able to survive. Now we just have to beat 1 more, and we can make our way out alive. So the skeleton tries to stab at him with his rusty blade. He +1 to the modifier here, so it's a 14 beat. Is he able to get through? He is not. The skeleton is able to slash down with his rusty blade. So let's see how this goes for him. So we'll roll, we did a d8 for him. We'll roll a d8 again as well. So 5, we need a 6, or 5 or 6 to stay up. Hey, yeah, we're here. The dice are with us. The dice are helping us tell this story. We both attacks. He had 1 HP for both, but his armor is able to take the brunt of these blows, taking the Necromage's claws, taking the skeleton's rusty blade, and our hero is able to dart out using his next action to keep running through both of them, to keep climbing the stairs of the ruins and make his way out into the dark forest of Davokar. Breathing a sigh of relief, you see Vicinero go, blood pouring from his neck from the vines that strangled him. from the stomach where the rusty blade cut into him, and even though he had broken free of the terror, it still clawed at the back of his mind from the necromage that had tried to take his life. You could see as he looked back at the ruins, trying to crawl away as he made his way out. You'd see that deep purple shadow of the necromage, and a booming voice echoed through. You escaped with your life. It is not likely you would do it twice. Don't dare come to the ruins of El Lucar. And you see Vincero just shake his head, using the cocky man, having this arrogant smile on his face, but pure terror, strain, and baldness that echoed back on the dark man's face as he looked through, bleeding from his wounds, and just shakes his head, and that shakily gets to his feet and then walks away from the ruins of the Elvacar, defeated by the monsters within. All right, that's where we're going to wrap up our session today. So this is kind of our game of the month for Symbaroum. Usually I've got my crew with me, but due to scheduling, this was a solo play one. So I hope you guys enjoyed some of the solo play mechanics with this. I do want to throw Shadow into the chat. We're going to be rolling this in the next few minutes. So throw Shadow into the chat. Let me throw another contest in. We've got 6 people into the group already. So throw it in for your chance to win a free PDF copy of the Symbaroum system. If you do win, and I'll kind of repeat this again as well, make sure to, I'll try to message you, but definitely if you can, message me as well for your, so I can get your email address, and I'll send you a free PDF copy through Drive-Through RPG, so you can bring this home to you and your crew. So, sweet. I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to drink another little bit of Oberon for any of my Michigan fan or any of my people from Michigan. It's Oberon season, so I had a couple Oberons for this session. So I'm gonna take a drink of that and some water, give people a chance to throw in Shadow. Then we'll talk a little bit about my feelings on the game so far, and then we'll wrap it off. Oh, that was real quick too. All right, sweet. So, got a little drink there, refreshment. Throw Shadow in. Oh, thanks for hanging out, Walter. We gotta get. Hopefully, Stranded comes back soon. We can get that back going too. And for anybody that hasn't seen it, Stranded's on this channel too. So it's one of our Star Wars 5e games. Walter Forrest hung out with us for a bit on that side too. So definitely go check out the backlog of that, or waiting for some new ones to come out. But yeah, so I liked it. This is a fun one, and especially it's another good one that's suited for solo play. I feel like, and because I really like because I've only done solo play twice, but I've done it for both this system as well as the One Ring, both freely games, surprisingly. But yeah, so the cool thing with both those ones is you don't have to rely on the GM to set the DC. Your attributes do that for you. So I thought that was pretty cool there. It just makes it easier for some of the solo play games. One day I'll try one where you have to set the DC yourself, but I just really feel like this lends itself well to that. It helps me to avoid, even though hopefully I wouldn't, but it helps me avoid metagaming and try to set favorable DCs or harder DCs sometimes too, to have the dice tell the story. No, and that's kind of a cool thing too. That's one thing I'll shout out for solo play games. Like dice really do tell it. I thought Vicinero was going to die in those ruins once we got the Necromage as well as the skeleton, but that armor came in handy. I know we didn't use the typical monster rules where the monsters don't roll their damage. But I thought this was kind of a cool way to do it with a solo play one, to have them roll it and give a little bit more of a chance for our guys. So I thought that worked out well. Yeah, throw Shadow into the chat. And then definitely a sneak preview here. Um, Call of Cthulhu is next month. I am super excited for this one. I had an RPG that's been on the top of my list for years to play. This has been it. So I'm looking forward to this one. I'm hoping we can have some fun games for it. Definitely shout out in comments if you know a cool either YouTuber or game master who runs this system. Because this is one of the few ones I want to be a player in versus running it. So I'm going to be looking to reach out to a game master for it. So Definitely, if you know one, shout them out. I'm gonna do some hunting over the next couple of weeks so we can get them in there. Sweet. Let's check out some comments. Oh yeah, Wonder Bread. Yeah. So Free League is probably I've got two favorite TTRPG publishers, Paizo and Free League, for different reasons. Free League has so much variety, so much depth in their kind of their pamphlet, not the pamphlet, their offerings on that side. Like from Aliens to the One Ring to Symbaroum to I know I've got other games on their shelf I can't think of right now. I've never played anything bad from them. Like everything has been quality, everything's been great artwork, everything's been well designed. Shout outs to Aliens. Aliens, I think, is probably my favorite one from them. But I am super excited for Walking Dead. Kickstarter is still live, so if anybody wants a good zombie game made by like a reputable TTRPG company, go to their Kickstarter. They're doing Walking Dead right now. It's I signed up for it. I think they're a little bit of ways from the last stretch goal. So go through, support that. I'm going to be running that as soon as I get my hard copy. So I think they're giving the PDF away next month, but as soon as that hard copy comes through third quarter sometime or third or fourth quarter, I'm going to be running that one too. So stay tuned for that one. Walter, yeah, so you can't level up in Symbaroum. So usually you get your XP at the end of an adventure. So Vicendos magically or somehow survived this. You get XP. One of my favorite things with Symbaroum is it's not a class. Well, you've got archetypes, which can be like classes, but it's not like directly class based. So when you get XP, you can go through and use it to buy or upgrade attributes that you have. So we had dominate, leader, man at arms as some of our attributes. We can either go through and upgrade those or get a whole new attribute. With my guy, I pretty much made him a novice and everything because I wanted as many different skills as I could, which kind of worked out for this being initially I didn't know he was going to be on his own for this one, so it kind of worked out for that. But yeah, so it's kind of cool to how I can work on that. So you can definitely level up, you can definitely increase, but it's not like you're not going to be following a class progression. Even though some of the class or the archetypes they offer, which are kind of like pre-made classes, do offer some guidelines of what you can do, but you're not locked into them if you do choose them. But I chose for Vicinero to go through and make my own because I love also systems, and I thought it'd be kind of cool to go through and make something that's just completely unique. But whatever, yeah. So Call of Cthulhu is a D100 system. I honestly, outside of being D100, I don't know too much about it. I've had this book for a little while. I actually even had the GM's Keeper's Guide, but I'm not really read into it too much. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out. Sweet. I'm going to give one last call here. Throw Shadow into the chat if you haven't already. Let me see how many people we've got in the chat or have got in the giveaway. We've got 6 people in. So if you're not in there, get in there. We're going to probably do it in the next minute or two on that side. So we'll get that in. But yeah, I don't know if anybody is probably new to the channel, probably mostly people that are already following. Like, subscribe. Each month we pick a different game of the month. We go through first impressions, how to build a PC, core mechanics, something unique for the system, as well as our actual play, which is today for Symbaroum, and then a review. So stay tuned this weekend. We're going to get our review for Symbaroum up. Then we start next month into Call of Cthulhu, one of the last big RPGs I've not really played before. But yeah, so let's wrap it up. So do a little bit of we'll get the roll going here. So get my Nightbot on it. Oh, nice. So I have to ask her how I pronounce it. I think I may have mispronounced it before, but I think it's so how. You won again. So I know you had to work. Hopefully, you may still be on, but I'll message you afterwards as well. You have won again. I know you've won Coyote Crow as well. And I think you won another one too. I'm playing maybe Aliens. But shout outs. Definitely, if you play it, let us know. Throw a comment in on how the game has went. But definitely appreciate you all hanging out with us for the solo play adventure and for our first YouTube stream. I'm pretty sure like I have to listen back to it, but I think nothing broke. So we'll probably be doing some more YouTube streams as we go through. So keep an eye out for that. I think our game of the month will probably be hosted on there. But yeah, definitely join us on Twitch too. Twitch will still have my Star Wars 5e spot. I'm running Invasion on Tuesdays right now, and hopefully Walter will get stranded back up there as well. We'll hang out for that side. Always every Tuesday, Star Wars Tuesdays on the channel at Tegan J Gaming at Twitch. We got Invasion on that side. So come through 6:30 Eastern time, sometimes 7, depending on when we start. You get to hang out with us there. But yeah, I had a blast. Oh, sweet. Yeah, you won. So hail. All right, sweet. Yeah, you won. Message me when you get a second. Actually, I already have your email, so I will send that over to you. Get that a little bit later tonight. So shout outs. I'm glad you came through. Glad get another system under your belt there too. Definitely let us know how it went. But definitely appreciate you all hanging out with me today for the first stream. And till next time, folks.